I think about financial brands. I think about FinTechs. You're at the intersection of that, and it is a different time period. It's different than what it was to start this decade in 2020, economically. And when you think about the growth potential for collaborations between FinTechs and financial brands, why are collaborations important? Why are they a key element for future growth for both sides of the coin?
Yeah, I think two things come to mind as I think about both sides of the coin, but really what it boils down to is a good partnership, and what does that look like? Banks and credit unions are, and honestly, fintechs are all the same as well, right? We all come to a point where we need to grow, and how do we grow? Generally, it's going to be through technology and different technology stacks. But do we build it ourselves? Do we buy? Do we partner with best in breed? And when I say buy, like, do we go and acquire somebody and make it ours, right? Do we go and just partner with them, or do we do nothing? Oftentimes, you see do nothing as your biggest competitor in the market, and especially as you get down market, in the sub 10 billion space. But what really can set fintechs apart is their ability to actually truly partner with the financial institution. And what do I mean by that is it's not just the hey, here's my software, sign this 3-5 year contract, and I'll call you before renewal, and you're going to have an increase in pricing, and best of luck, right? It's
Right.
a partner who's in the trenches with you, who understands your problems and your pain points, who's offering a solution to that specific pain point, and maybe others, long tail down the road that you can grow into, but not the ones that are just, hey, we got our money and we walked away, right? Because that doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help the financial institutions tackle what they need to tackle, but also it doesn't help the fintech actually grow their own product set. Like you get some money in, but then you're not innovating. You don't listen to your customers, and pretty soon you're not going to have any more, right? So something I prided myself in my days at Encino was really making sure that I was there with my customers. I would go on tours, and every week I'd visit a couple of different customers in between prospects, listen to them, see how their projects are going, understand their problems, and battle with them, right? And I'd go back internally, and I would take that feedback back internally and say, hey, here's what the market's saying. Here's what the customers need. Here's where we need to look at going. And then inviting them into our product roadmap sessions and strategy sessions. And we did it a little bit uniquely where community, regional, and enterprise, they all, there was kind of community, regional, and then enterprise. But they all need the same stuff, right? It's just at scale. And so, when I'm talking with fintechs and talking with banks and credit unions, that's really what I'm helping them to uncover and understand is, what does a real partnership look like, and how can you make the best use of it? And it goes to what I just said.
I appreciate that idea of getting down in the trenches, working alongside them, being their guide with them on their journey of growth. I'm curious to get your take on this around mindset on the perspective of the financial brand, the bank, or the credit union, mindset on the perspective of the fintech. How does mindset play into all of this? Because when you think about a good, strong collaboration, it is a meeting of the minds to where we're all bringing different perspectives to the table. We're all bringing different experiences. How does mindset play into establishing and even expanding a strong collaboration that co-creates value together?
Yeah, I mean, my mindset is everything, and I would turn calls away after turn the prospects away after the first conversation if they weren't in the right mindset, because technology's challenging. It's not easy, right? And it's not meant to be easy, which is why there's experts in the fintech space, and there's the engineers and the dev and all those brilliant minds they're doing the hard lifting. But we need people on the other side to want to grow and want to help and want to share their use cases and their pain points, because they're very similar, but they're also different throughout every single institution. And so, the partnership mindset isn't for everybody. Some people just, I talk to almost every single bank and credit union over 6.5, 7 years now. Some of them just like to be status quo, and that's okay, right? There's room for that. That's just not the customer that like most fintechs are looking for. Fintechs really, really need to understand, and they want that feedback loop. They want that openness back to them so that they can innovate and grow their book of business and grow their revenues, while actually truly trying to change and transform the industry. So that's one key area. The other key area that I looked at was when I was first talking with, first call with prospects, it was, what is your 3-year vision for this institution? You're hovering $700 million, call it, right? 700 million in assets, right? What is your goal? Where do you want to be at in 3-5 years? And, if they were like, oh, we're happy to just say around 700 million, then I probably wasn't going to be much value to them, because the products and the innovations that we were bringing were going to help them accelerate growth into the 2.35, 6 billion, $10 billion range, right?
Right.
But it's a two-way street, and there's a lot that goes into user adoption of the platform and executive buy-in from the top down to actually implement the change that's coming. Change is hard. People don't like change, right? Especially salespeople. We hate it. But it's important to understand that we're in this again together, and I'm going to help you overcome those obstacles. But I also need your help as well, and I need you to be communicating freely with me with the challenges that you're facing and the feedback you're getting, so that I can then take it back to my team and continue that loop.
I think a lot about the challenges of change and why human transformation is essential to coincide alongside digital transformation, because the technology, that's not the failure point. The tech is, for many times, it's great and it can create exponential value, back to your point, but the people that have to deploy that and the change that they have to navigate through within their own mind is often some of the biggest hurdles that have to overcome. But you're tapping into something that I think is important, and I'm a big believer in. I often say that all transformation that leads to future growth starts by telling the truth about where you've been, where you're at, and where you're looking to grow next. Dive deeper. How do you uncover that? How do you go beyond just the surface level, but really get into the goals of not just the organization, but also for the key stakeholder if you're having a conversation with, because I think they're interconnected.
Yeah, I mean, you hit on something that I'm very passionate about, and that's the truth, right? And I've got one kind of core. I've got a couple rules, but one of my main core rules with my kids and with my employees is never lie, right? I'll always have your back, but just always tell the truth. And when you think about that in terms of being on the fintech side into banks and credit unions, you've got to manage that relationship for 3 or 5 years. Why would you ever want to start out with lying to them just to get a sale, right? And something that I really appreciated with the leadership team at Encino was that it wasn't a culture where if you didn't hit your numbers, you were walking out stage left. It was, let's figure out ways, let's coach, let's get you into the right rhythms and repetitions, because what we didn't want to do is incent people to lie, cheat, and steal to win a deal, right? And so that's something that it comes out naturally when you take that premise of I'm here to be very transparent. I'm going to tell you what the software can do, what it can't do, and I'm only going to tell you maybe the next release, maybe the next 2 releases, but don't buy based on that, right? And so ultimately, what happens is when you start your conversations with your prospects, and hopefully you're getting your champions right away, the wall goes down, right? Because they've been lied to so many times. The legacy core systems out there have overpromised and under-delivered so much that these walls are up, and as soon as you lower the wall, now they feel like they can be fully transparent with you as well.
Right.
And then it comes the fine tuning piece. Now comes, don't be the hungry person at the buffet, right? Don't have big eyes and a small stomach. Let's really hone in on what you need and what you can absorb and take on today, and then build a roadmap out of what you can take on in the next 12 to 18 to 24 months, and bite this off in chunks. And when you do that, it creates this partnership where you've got their best interest in mind. They've now told you what their next 24-month roadmap looks like, right? So from my side, I'm thinking, great, I've got constant repetition in here with this institution. I've got reason now to come back in and talk every week or 2 weeks or month or whatever your cadence becomes. And you're constantly growing that account now, right? And The institution, the financial institutions love it because now they've got a journey that they're on with their partner versus a set it and forget it solution that they're typically used to, right? And again, it goes back to their account execs come back every renewal with big increases, and they're like, I didn't get any value out of it. So you lower the wall. There's transparency back and forth, good, bad, and ugly, right? I made sure everybody knows this is not easy. Like if this was easy, everybody would do it. And instantly, there's trust built inside of the institution. And then when you get into, your key stakeholders, executive team, that person has already championed you internally now too. And so now it's more of not necessarily a friendship, but it feels more like it's a natural friendship partnership with your institutions from the top down.
I take it even a step further. It's a collaboration, and it's a collaboration rooted in co-creating value together through your own perspectives that are aligned. This is something, if we want to go back and apply some ancient wisdom here, Napoleon Hill wrote about the perspective of the mastermind, where when you bring one mind in with another mind and another mind, then you've got an exponential multiplier of value creation from these different perspectives. The telling the truth and trust, it's built upon two things. It's built upon words and actions. Back to your point, it's like, I understand why a lot of financial brands feel like they've been burned from their past experiences, but at the same time, I also encourage, don't let those past experiences limit your future growth potential, because there are good people who are doing good things for a good reason. And I want to flip this around just a little bit. When you think about the pains of the past, what are potential challenges or roadblocks that can quickly derail a collaboration and just throw it off the tracks?
Yeah. I think something right out of the gates is, you get into a project, you sold your deal, you told them it can do all these cool things. It can sing and dance and park your car in reverse, backwards, blindfolded. And the first project kickoff, and they're sitting with the project team and they're like, oh, well, Kyle told me it can do this. And the project team's like, we've never even heard of that before. The product's never been intended to act that way, right? And so boom, right there, all credibility can be lost. And then it's PTSD for the financial institution because we've been here, done that again, right? So, that's why it's super important to be very upfront. It might cost you a deal, but guess what? Like I was okay with that because I'm going to sleep at night knowing that I didn't lie to you to make a deal and pad my numbers for the year. So that's something I think is super important for anybody looking to be in on the sales side, is full transparency, good, bad, and ugly, right? Because you need to build that instant credibility and that instant trust. And it's the opposite of over promising and under delivering. You're under promising and over delivering now at this point. And you get into a project and everything they're going through now, the project team's like, yep, that's all good. Boom. Now there's trust. There's even more trust that's solidified now because the project team has come in and reinforced.
It's expectation setting, but I say it's expectation setting and then resetting the expectation and then resetting the expectation, so that, because we know in any relationship, whether it's personal, professional, when an expectation goes unmet or unfulfilled, that's where the friction, frustration, conflict, chaos begins to seep in.